will be short-lived. Quite heavy through this morning into the early afternoon, but then easing off and turning back to rain. But that snow melting, coupled with the heavy rain, could cause some flooding. The rain extending into northern Scotland by this evening. Elsewhere across Scotland, actually turning a little bit drier. A bit dry this afternoon too for Northern Ireland. But here's the milder air. Temperatures in double figures across much of England, Wales and Northern Ireland by this evening. But although it will be milder, it will be wet and windy for many. Further pulses of rain coming in across the south. Gusty winds also. It does calm down a little bit in some places as we head into Sunday. But overall, a wet and windy night. But a very, very mild night. Temperatures actually rising through the night. So this evening, single figures across Scotland. By tomorrow morning, probably in double digits. And some parts of the south start tomorrow in the teens. So a very mild start, but still very wet and windy. It does turn brighter across Scotland. Some sunny spells here and for Northern Ireland. Showers coming into the northwest. The rain easing in parts of England and Wales too, but warnings remain in place for wind and rain, especially in southern parts of England. Expect some disruption through the course of this weekend thanks to Storm Bert. It's bringing lots of different hazards across different parts of the UK at different times. Check the Met Office website for the warning details.
We'll see a cold snap, which will quickly develop into a warm front. Boxed boiler repairs, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting a call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
For your chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Oedipus is back in the theatre, as Stefan Kyriazis can tell me. Stefan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
A good Oedipus or a bad one?
It's a great one. It's divided the critics a little bit. So some would prefer more kind of truth to the original text, perhaps a little bit more sense of the kind of epic Greek tragedy. I mean, this is Sophocles. It's 2,500 years old, and it's still one of the best, literally, no pun, the mother of all tragedies. It's just absolutely staggering. You like that?
I did. Where and with whom?
So this one is on at the Wyndham Theatre until January the 4th. The exciting thing is Mark Strong as Oedipus, Leslie Manville as his wife, Jocasta, and it's been reframed, you'll see from the pictures, as a modern political thriller. So he is waiting for election results, general election results, you will remember. There's a clock ticking down in the background. They're at Campaign HQ. They're waiting for it to click down to zero. We increasingly know that when it hits zero, terrible truths are coming. So it's operating on two levels. He's obsessed with the truth. He says very famously, I am me. He's so proud of his sense of who he is. And of course, that's all going to be horrendously ripped away. Mark Strong is wonderful. And then when we get to the very end and the horrific final reveal, I forgot. I was so gripped in the political thriller and everything else, I actually swore under my breath in the theatre, Michael, because I just had been so engrossed, and they play very well at other mysteries going on and a family drama, that when my penny dropped, I literally was devastated, and they do it. Even the critics that haven't loved this reframing admit, the two of them, and especially at the end, it's searingly agonising. It's glorious.
2,500 years later,
yeah,
it's still absolutely visceral.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning, I'm Ellie Costello alongside Sam Francis, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Very good morning to you. It is great to have your company today. We've got, as ever, an action-packed show, including all of this.
Stock up on food and water as Storm Bert sweeps across the UK. That's as police warn against road travel in some parts of the country.
Fashion designer Donna Ida will be joining us to give her take on how to spruce up Ellie's festive fashion outfit.
I think it's you that might need the help.
Perhaps.
With Donald Trump entering the White House again, a bevy of celebs and stars are actually leaving the US and landing in, wait for it, the Cotswolds. One of those very people being Ellen DeGeneres.
And Wicked joins Gladiator 2 at the box office, but will they be breaking any records? Stephanie Tecchi will be joining us to find out. Very good question.
I find the Cotswolds thing really interesting. So all of these US celebrities, they don't like the result of the US election. They don't want to see another Trump presidency. He's thinking, we're going to up sticks and head to the Cotswolds.
The thing is, by moving, doesn't change the fact that Donald Trump is still the president.
It doesn't, but
it's not resolving anything. They just feel like they're escaping.
They don't have to experience it themselves. So America Ferrera, who's the ugly Betty actress, Ellen DeGeneres, James Corden's come home now.
I thought he was already here.
He was already here. Yeah. Where would you go if you could go anywhere?
Well, my parents are down in Bournemouth, in Dorset, South Coast, which is beautiful, massive long beaches. So that's potential. It's potential, and I've never lived there myself. I moved out. So.
But you like it a lot. I think Cornwall has got to be up there.
Too far away.
It's a long way away, but once you're there in the sunshine, can't really
I think that's the thing with the UK. You'd have to move around depending on the time of year.
Yeah, I do get the Cotswolds though. It's absolutely beautiful. It's kind of in the middle. You can get everywhere.
Yeah. Have you done the Lake District?
Great pubs. No, not
okay,
really. I've been there once.
I remember I went to the Lake District on a school trip. Yeah. Driving in on the coach, and I just couldn't believe you see these mountains appear, and you're like, this is the UK. Yeah. This is crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well worth doing.
Stephen's from up near that neck of the woods. So anyway, we've actually run out of musical bed because
which means
a lot.
It's time for the news with Sophie Reaper.
Sam, Ellie, thank you very much. The time is just after 10 o'clock and these are your latest headlines. As Storm Bert continues to batter much of the UK, the Met Office has issued amber and yellow weather warnings, as well as 16 flood alerts coming into force. Heavy snow has closed roads and rail companies have urged passengers to avoid travelling to certain areas. In Ireland, the Electricity Supply Board has said that high winds have caused power outages for around 60,000 customers. Our Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie is in County Down for us today and has been urging people to take care.
Late last night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, we had snow. Now we've been battered by winds and really, really ice-cold rain. It's not sleet. The rain is just so freezing cold. And what's happened is the roads are now flooded, trees are down, and underneath that line water is ice. So anybody that is out and about this morning, please, please be very, very careful.
The King attended the annual Royal Variety performance last night, although he was forced to go alone after the Queen had to miss it due to her health. King Charles accepted flowers on the Queen's behalf, as following a recent chest infection, Queen Camilla had to pull out last minute. A royal source has said that the Queen was naturally disappointed at having to miss the event. Following a High Court ruling yesterday, Nikita Hand was awarded almost €250,000 in damages. That's after she accused MMA fighter Conor McGregor of raping her back in 2018. However, in response to the ruling, McGregor took to social media platform X to say the following: "I will be appealing today's decision. I'm with my family now, focused on my future. Thank you to all my support worldwide." Meanwhile, outside the court yesterday, Nikita spoke emotionally about wanting to be a story of hope for victims of sexual assault.
I want to show Freya and every other girl and boy that you can stand up for yourself if something happens to you, no matter who the person is, and justice will be served. To all the victims of sexual assault, I hope my story is a reminder that no matter how afraid you might be, speak up, you have a voice, and keep on fighting for justice.
Jeremy Corbyn will join the latest demonstration calling for the UK to ban the sale of arms to Israel later this morning. The protest will gather at Glasgow Green and will then march through the city centre. The independent MP and veteran anti-war campaigner has been announced as one of the speakers at the rally. Although the government has introduced proposals for stricter measures for antisocial behaviour, because of their devolved powers, Scotland would not be included. The Respect orders would clamp down on antisocial behaviour across the board, but one element people have expressed they're particularly pleased about is the new power to clamp down on e-bikes and e-scooters. In Glasgow, people have been asking if Scotland should now follow suit to tighten policing around the issue.
England are about to tie that in with their new ASBO tight order, respect orders. I think Scotland needs to have a look at how we're handling them.
Very much so, yeah. Because, as I say to you, especially the electric ones, because they can, a bit of speed, I just almost get bumped into just walking up there and now.
I'm an elderly person and I'm all scared, you know, they could knock you down.
Exactly.
And they don't care.
They should stop at traffic lights because any other cyclists are giving them a bad name. And I'm friends with a couple of near misses with them as well, so.
Remember the old ASBOs? Well, do you think Scotland should do a wee rework as well?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Zayn Malik will begin his nationwide tour today, with this being his first performance since the funeral of One Direction bandmate Liam Payne earlier this week. Held in Buckinghamshire, Zayn attended the funeral on Wednesday alongside other former band members Harry Styles, Niall Horan and Louis Tomlinson. Zayn's tour was scheduled to kick off in Edinburgh on the day of Liam's funeral, but the date was moved as a result. And the first grey seal pup of the season has been born at a former weapons testing site along the Suffolk coastline. The birth marks the 4th year in a row of seals breeding there. It began there following reduced visitor access during the pandemic. The National Trust has said that more than 130 seal pups were born there last year, with the breeding site now being described as a brilliant wildlife success story. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophie Reaper. More from me in the next hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sophie Reaper, and hello, Sam.
Thank you.
Very good to have you on
Very good
Saturday
morning. What an
Live.
amazing story to finish on, that little seal pup.
I know.
I think we need to name him.
All of us were sat here going, oh my goodness. It's good when you end on an animal
Sophie,
story.
did the pup have a name?
Not yet.
Not yet. Sophie's saying not yet.
But maybe we should put this out to the viewers.
I think so.
Viewers, if you have a name for, was it a grey seal pup? Grey seal pup. Let us know. gbnews.com/you'll say. Yeah, I think that's a very, very
We do it all here
and
at
you're
GB
dressed
News.
almost like you look after seals, like on a fisherman's
Moving
boat.
on, right. No. Thank
Very
you very
serious
much. We've had a bit of a debate in the dressing room about what to wear today, so we landed with this. I think it's a good pairing.
It looks good. It blends very nicely.
Yeah, lovely.
Now, let's start with our top story today because Storm Bert is on the way. In fact, it's already hit parts of the UK, bringing with it heavy rain, strong winds and disruptive snow.
Across areas of the UK. Well, joining us now live from a very wet and windy County Down is GB News reporter Doogie Beattie. Doogie, sorry to brag, but it's a little bit warmer where we are compared to where you are. Looking at the picture, goodness me, what's the condition like at the moment? We may have trouble with the connection.
This morning, 3 o'clock, we had... 3 o'clock this morning we had driving snow in Northern Ireland. Then it was brought in by rain. That turned to rain. Massive gusty winds from 6, 7, 8 o'clock this morning. I could hardly stand with the gusts that was coming in. Cork and the south of Ireland, West Cork, in round Galway, they've had power outages, and of course that's the Atlantic Ocean meeting Ireland. But it's one of the things I enjoy about GB News. When we report in storms here, I'm able to tell you what's coming your direction, and you can now see actually that the winds have calmed here. Looking up towards the skies, the clouds are still moving quite quickly, but the sea behind me, the white horses, etc., has not they have calmed down. They're not crashing into the shore anymore. So really, Northern Ireland, this storm is passing over us now. But what we are seeing is things like this behind us, where we've had snow, etc., over the last week. That rain has now washed that off the fields, and this is the to Donaghadee and Malile that I'm standing at now, and right along this road and the whole way through there have been huge floods, and I mean, for a main road to see what's behind me, and of course television being television, when you don't want a car to come, it comes, and when you're looking for one to come and go through the flood, it does not happen. But this is quite deep behind me. There's bits of cars lying across it where they've obviously caught in the bumpers, etc. But this morning when I came down here, it was still quite dark, and you're nearly into that flood before it hits, and worse than that, the ice is still on the roads. Even the treated roads, of course, the treated roads, the salt would have washed off them. So if you're out and about this morning, it is no longer windy, but it is quite biting breeze that's here, and the rain has slowed down. That's meant to happen by 12 o'clock, but roads are now flooding. There is trees down in areas, and you really have to be quite careful about driving this morning.
Well, Doogie, I'm glad that you're still with us to tell the tale, because I was a bit worried when I was watching your hits in breakfast. It looks like you were about to be flying away in the wind. Do you think most people have heeded advice? Obviously, you haven't. You're here speaking to us, but most people have heeded the advice to stay at home. We may have lost connection with Doogie. I think we have. We'll leave it there. But I'm glad he's here with us.
Not surprising, looking at the conditions. Goodness me, you were just saying that behind Doogie it looked like a river. I think it was actually a road.
It was a road, and I thought it was a river. But that just goes to show the amount of rain that's fallen in the past few hours. But as he was saying, it has pretty much passed over Northern Ireland. The rest of the UK now experiencing it. And if you look at those yellow weather warnings, you'll see it in our weather update at the end of this half hour. It is almost the whole of the United Kingdom. Just a little bit of the east. That is uncovered.
It's the second one of the season?
Yes, but...
What was the first one?
I don't know. Oh, there you go. You can see that yellow over all of the...
Quite really is sweeping across, isn't it?
It really is sweeping across, so pretty much
you can see it's slightly clear in the north of Ireland now.
Yeah, so, and you can just see... Yeah, stay inside and watch GB News or listen to GB News on your speaker. That would be my advice. But people in Ireland have been told to stock up on food, actually, just to avoid going out to the shops. That's what I was trying to ask Doogie, if people had heeded that advice. He certainly hasn't. Don't you think that's funny on weather like this, extreme weather? We tell everybody to stay inside and watch GB News, and then we send our own reporters out to be battered by the wind of the rain.
Contractually obliged to go and put, your life in peril.
He's a superstar. Well done, Doogie. And I hope he's having a nice warm tea somewhere now.
Right, to look through the top stories of the day, we are delighted to be joined by our panel this morning, joined by social policy analyst Dr. Rakib Eshan and lifestyle journalist Annette Kello. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
Morning. Really good to see you.
Nice and warm and dry.
I have to say, I think Sam's fashion choice today is fantastic.
Hey!
I really like it.
I
do like it. I do. Very nice.
Good.
Thank you. You said the other one was the fisherman jumper.
No,
now this is the fisherman jumper.
No, the other one was a royal blue and he looked like Harry Styles.
I can't win.
No.
Although looking like Harry Styles is not a bad...
It's not a bad thing. Now, do you think Harry Styles' voice is on the new Band-Aid track? Band-Aid 40?
It certainly wasn't on the first one.
Certainly wasn't on the first one, but lots of talk about Band-Aid 40 this year. Many saying they need to change their tune, that the lyrics now aren't appropriate. What do you make of this?
Yes, I know there's been quite a lot of... I've seen TikToks about it, it's been on the news a lot, and perhaps the lyrics could be changed, perhaps there could be a different... But I think what people are really worried about is that it's portraying Africa in a bad light. So they're saying, oh, it's making us look like everywhere is bad as a whole thing, rather than it just being, actually, there's some positives. So I think that's the worry around it. But I also think it does raise money, so that's important. So I think that's something they should just... maybe they just need to have different lyrics slightly, but I don't think we should worry about offending everybody all the time.
So one of the lines that people take issue with is the line in the original version of the song suggests that there is no snow in Africa at Christmas, but snow is common in certain parts of Eastern Africa in December. Apparently, one of the lines that people take issue with. What do you make of this?
I think there's some of the lyrics can be tweaked. I think actually you don't want to destroy charitable activities which are designed to contribute towards human development in Africa. But that's kind of the point, really, that there's a great deal of, bless you, there's a great deal of human potential in Africa, And I think that when you look at Africa as a continent, there's so many young, aspirational people. I think that what you want to do is obviously highlight that talent and potential, as opposed to indulging in territory which you'd consider to be doom and gloom pessimism. I think you want to get away from that a little bit.
It's still impressive that something's lasted for 40 years and has managed to survive without much criticism. This is kind of the first time, certainly, that I've heard anything specifically against the song.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look back at films from 40 years ago, or comedy shows from 40 years ago, songs from 40 years ago, I mean, most of the time they will be outdated because the world has moved along. I mean, Bob Geldof has said of all of this criticism, this one little pop song has kept hundreds, if not thousands, of millions of people alive.
So it feels like we're majoring on a minor point, potentially, whereas actually we're ignoring the bigger...
But I think if you want to look at the longevity of these kind of charitable activities, I think there's no harm in highlighting how they've contributed towards economic and social development, which has already taken place in Africa. I don't think there'd be any harm in going in that direction.
And I know Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates have also funded 75 million for other charitable causes there. So I think it's still a very positive thing to be raising the money. Obviously, there are some little things that you read online. Allegedly, people worry about where the money's spent. Yeah. So I think there's been not necessarily deep dives into that, but I think there has been talk about how is it exactly being spent.
And I think there's no harm in having a discussion in terms of how it can be best utilised. And I think that the onus is on certain organisations to actually show that in order to continue with its popularity as a charitable endeavour.
Likes of Ed Sheeran pulled his voice off this 40th anniversary track, and he said if he was asked whether they could reuse the 30th anniversary when his voice was laid down on the track, he said he wouldn't have given them permission.
He'd try and pull that as well.
Because his understanding of the track has changed in that time.
Wow.
So it's a very interesting conversation. Let us know what you think. Will you be listening to Band Aid? Do they know it's Christmas? This Christmas, let us know, gbnews.com/yoursay.
How many artists are on it? Do we know?
That is a great question that I don't know.
OK, we will find that out, because I'm quite interested. I am intrigued. OK, Annette, let's move on to Jeremy Clarkson, all the farmer action that's been going on this last week.
A lot of action.
The TV star, well, he's explaining why he's joined the tractor tax protests, and he's been sort of tackling the government on their new inheritance tax rules. What do you make of the situation at the moment?
Well, it's a very tricky one. I mean, my family, a lot of them are farmers, were farmers, and I grew up around farms, so I know all, and I can say, you know, and I know people will have heard this before, they do work long hours, they do not make much money, but they just want to give fresh veg, meat to the local community. They want it to be British farming, and I think the tractor tax is just adding on top of that to they're already going to tax all the other assets people own on farms, including machinery, which is all the things. So I think it's going to have a knock-on effect. Now, all that's going to happen is, as they say, the smaller farms are going to close, and then we're just going to have all our meat, fruit and veg from abroad. I mean, is that really what we want to have as British values? So I understand why he's sticking up for the tractor tax and the inheritance tax, because it's going to be what people say is, oh, well, they've got the money, you know, it's OK if they've got loads of land, but actually it's not, they're scraping by. And I think that's what people don't grasp.
Dr Eshan, what do you make of this?
Well, I think that what it really shows is there's a great deal of economic illiteracy within the Labour government. And I think many people haven't really grasped that, while many of these sort of family-based farms are asset-rich, actually quite a lot of them are quite cash poor, and many are in relatively deprived rural communities. I think that people who are quite rooted in cosmopolitan city-based life, they have very romanticised views of rural life. They think that there's bundles of wealth there. That's not necessarily the case at all. I think that in terms of looking at the agricultural sector, the importance of it, I think it's highly important from a strategic perspective in terms of our national food security. And I also think there's something to be said about how these small family farms, they're sound custodians in terms of looking after the countryside as well. So I don't want to see a lot of these farms then being sold to private corporations who might not have the faintest idea in terms of looking after the countryside, and they might not be necessarily well equipped in terms of contributing in an agricultural sense. And indeed, their plans for that land might not even be agricultural at all.
Is it helpful, though, to have names like Jeremy Clarkson? I think Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber was also at the protest as well. Incredibly wealthy gentlemen who are probably not particularly affected by these rules that are being put in place. Is it helpful to have those kind of voices involved in this debate?
Well, I don't think it's going to touch the sides with them, OK? They don't have to worry too much about it. But I do think you need to have some important figures at the forefront of things like that, because it just makes people listen more and it makes people pay attention, which I just think is so important with something like this.
Do you see someone like Jeremy Clarkson becoming a politician? I mean, he's become a farmer already. Do you think we could see him go into politics?
He's good at it. Yeah. I think he'd be quite good.
I think
we're living in an era where you have celebrities who might entertain the possibility of entering politics. And I think with Jeremy Clarkson, I think one thing that really benefits him, he has a certain authenticity, a straight-talking quality that many so-called establishment politicians, they don't necessarily possess those traits.
Would you like to see Jeremy Clarkson as a politician? Would you like to see him as your constituency MP? Let us know what you think.
Where's he based?
Cotswolds, same as everybody else.
It's the place to be this morning.
Yeah, GBNews.com/you'll say. Let us know what you think.
Dr. Eshan and Annette Curlow, thank you very much indeed. Right, still to come, we are going to be getting the very latest from the US with Nelson Aspen, as ever, every single week. He is a top feature.
He is. But next, the Jean Queen herself will be joining us to tell us all about festive fashion, so you better listen up. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This week is Chocolate Week, the ultimate celebration of everything rich, sweet and indulgent.
Yes, and we now have the best person in the studio with us to satisfy all of your chocolate cravings. We're joined now by master chocolatier Ollie the Choc. Ollie,
hello.
Really good to see you this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And you brought some of your chocolate in with you.
I did. I brought some tasting samples. You're very welcome to help yourself.
So what have you got here? Tell us.
So this is my signature chocolate. I call it the Holy Grail. It's got sea salt flakes, crushed Oreo, caramel fudge pieces, very Moorish.
I love a caramel and salt combo, just, you know. I feel like you see it everywhere now. Look,
you won't be disappointed.
Look, I want everyone to see a close-up of this one. Can we get a shot on this one? So this is Oreo, there we are, caramel and salt. Do you want to try some?
You go first.
Help yourselves. And then this bar of chocolate is a little bit of a wild card. That's a mystery flavour, so...
OK, I love a mystery.
I'm not going to tell you what that is.
Hold on this one. This one's amazing.
Are you?
Oreo, caramel.
That's my biggest seller.
I'll keep my palate clean for this. So this is a mystery flavour.
You've got to guess what that is.
Is that a nut in there, I see? Right, here we go. Ready?
I'm not saying anything.
Talk us through.
Very crunchy.
For me, I'm all about textures in chocolate.
Me too.
It has got a good crunch to it, hasn't it? It's not the kind of flavour that you would expect.
Oh, I can't get it.
Is it sweet? Is it salty?
Wait, no, it's salty, yeah.
It's
okay,
salty.
hang on, bit more.
Okay.
Bit more.
I mean, just keep going.
Is it crisps? Wait,
It is crispy, it's crunchy. Could it be crisps?
I think it could be crisps. Yeah, it's crisps.
So what flavour?
Salt and vinegar. Cheese and onion.
Yes, nailed it. You know.
Oh, you're much better than me.
Love that.
Do you know what? I think I've got a bit of a cold, so my taste buds are off.
Oh, you're going to blame that, are you?
That's my excuse. That's delicious.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. And can I just say, it was genius asking for names for the seal pup. Because
We are
you have
inundated.
delivered. Yes. We've got some great ideas.
Seal pup name. Hang on, is it from George or is George
From
the
George,
recommendation?
and this is his view.
Seal pup from George. If they're looking for a name for a seal pup, perhaps the Perhaps, do you want to translate George's message?
Tarka.
Tarka the Otter is a novel by Henry Williamson, 1979, describing the life of an otter. George, thank you, but you've got the wrong animal. It's a seal pup, not an otter, but I like the animal connection.
There's some very good suggestions here. Heather says Sammy for the name of a newborn seal pup in honour of Sam Francis. Sammy the seal is very good, actually, Heather.
Just going to see if we've got any in honour of Ellie, and I don't think we do.
Got nothing.
Oh, shame.
No one wanted to suggest me. Campbell says maybe call it Major, a grey seal named after John Major, the grey man.
Grey seal.
Great.
I like that one, Jean.
Yes,
that's
very good. Dawn and Gloria have got in touch on Doogie Beattie, saying, Mum and I are watching Doogie from Northumberland. We love him. He's always smiling. We do think now that you need to let him go inside and dry off. Yeah, I really hope he's having a nice cup of tea somewhere.
I'm sure he is.
Doogie, if you're listening, we love you lots and thank you for everything you do.
And keep those seal names coming in.
Yeah, keep those seal names coming in. Oh, Elaine says something lovely. Yay, Sam is back. Double bubble of gorgeousness. I'll take that. Yes, with Ellie also on our screens on this miserable storm Bert.
Have we got any Tipex? I'm just going to keep it with Sam.
Do keep your lovely views coming in. On the seal pup, what else? Jeremy Clarkson is a politician. What else we asked for? Where you'd like to move?
I think that was it. Oh, Cotswolds.
Yeah, because all of the celebrities moving to the Cotswolds. Yes, do get in touch, gbnews.com/you'll say. This show is nothing without your views, so do keep them coming in. Now, how can denim improve your fashion? And what are this season's must-haves? Very important questions for the jean queen and fashion designer, Donna Ida, who joins us now. And Donna, you look spectacular in your gorgeous denim jumpsuit.
Thank you.
And accessories. And it's important, isn't it, sometimes, just to keep things simple?
I always keep things simple. I travel a lot, I work long hours, and I don't want to think too much about what I'm wearing. So for me, one and done is perfect. Good accessories, fresh hair, nice makeup, and you can go anywhere, including GB News when you didn't know what was happening.
There we
Perfect.
go. Welcome.
Straight off the plane.
Can we ask you some of our top denim questions?
Yes.
Because Stephen Dixon, the presenter of The Breakfast Show who's just on, said that double denim to him is an absolute no-go.
Oh, what does he
Is that true?
Don't have him on again, darling.
OK. We're telling me stacked.
I love double denim.
Really?
I love it. I think it is so cool.
Does it have to be a different tone?
I was going to say double denim, same colours.
I like the same. For me, I actually do like the same. Think Saint Laurent 70s. There's an amazing one that we're doing that's going to look great on you in the new season. The Joan Jean, we've got the City Slicker shirt. Oh, it's amazing. If it's done well, it's perfect. And I like it in a paler blue, but a good mid to dark. Very chic.
Yeah, you go.
No, well, I was just thinking, little old me, not quite sure
You'd look amazing
what to wear
in
this
it.
morning. How
was a
do
bit
guys
stressed.
pull off denim?
For me, if I was dressing you, I would have put you in a pair of jeans this morning with his amazing jumper, gorgeous watch.
Black, blue?
Black denim I do like. Men don't like it so much. Men like charcoal denim.
Oh, I don't like grey.
Charcoal. I love grey, and the best seller for men is charcoal denim. Sells and size and also 32-inch leg length. Men have short legs and long bodies.
Oh,
interesting.
Right. You know all of this
Quite often.
then.
I do.
So when it comes to the festive season and people are looking towards their festive outfits, we are in a cost of living crisis.
Yes.
How do people make denim work for the festive season and perhaps dress it up a little bit?
Just put on a pair of heels.
Oh.
Literally that. But I'm wearing flats today. If I put a pair of heels on with this, I mean, I wouldn't change anything else. This and heels. I just stick on a heel. It just changes everything. And I think just don't think about it too much. Again, just make sure your hair's nice. You could just change up the lipstick, add a bit more makeup, put on a red lip and a heel and confidence as well. Be happy, confident, relaxed. Nothing looks better than that.
Because you were saying as well that it's not even what you put on your body, is it? It's the way that you accessorise it. It's everything else about you, your smile.
Exactly. Nice teeth, a good night's sleep, no alcohol. I mean, I could go on and on because I don't drink. No drink, don't take drugs, have a good night's sleep, loads of water, fresh air, nice walks, positive thoughts. That's what looks amazing.
Is denim something that you can wear in multiple occasions, locations as well. I mean, I agree with the point of, you know, grab and go is so helpful, particularly with the pace of life at the minute. What would you recommend for people that they may want to wear in the office and then head out for drinks afterwards, or they're going to a formal occasion? Is that possible?
Absolutely. So our best-selling jumpsuit is the Cassandra. It is a black jumpsuit. We do it in multiple washes, but in the black, it sells so well, and it will take you literally anywhere. I'm sure we just showed it. Yeah, it's amazing. So that is incredible. Goes straight from that beautiful Laura. I mean, hello, look at that. Oh, heavenly.
And you can see there, it really is quite simple.
Oh, so simple.
Boots, belt, done.
Perfect. Yeah. And that shoot you see there was a dinner we did when we first launched Cassandra, and all the girls came wearing Cassandra. We gave it to them before they came wearing it, and it was just so interesting to see how everyone wore it. Everyone looked amazing.
How did you come up with the brand? Did you just see, as you obviously just believe to be true, that denim can be simple and just look absolutely beautiful?
So I was shopping in a very well-known department store in London years ago, so I would have been around 2004, 2005, and I saw some jeans on Net-a-Porter, and I said, OK, lunchtime, I'm going to go over there and see if I can and try them on. And I just didn't. They had the jeans. They were really low-waisted, really skinny. I'm a curvy girl. I mean, I couldn't get them up above my knees. So instead of buying the jeans, I went upstairs to the food department and bought loads of food and ate loads of stuff.
Oh, comfort eating instead.
Comfort eating instead of that. I put on my old 7 For All Mankind jeans back on, and then I went and ate, and I thought, this is crazy. You just need... There is women out there like me, love jeans. They want the service, they want the help, and, you know, a lot of women, we're curvy. We celebrate our curves. We're not little boys. We don't want to be, you know, wearing tiny things. So actually, that's where it came from, and that's how I started Donna Ida.
I think that is something that all women can relate to, that feeling of going into a department... You back me up in the comments with this. You go into a department store. I don't know if there's a male thing as well.
I'm just thinking... I mean, I feel out of my depth in this conversation.
It's so hard to find a pair of jeans that fit. So I have an opposite issue where I'm so tall, I cannot find jeans to fit properly. And I think that women find it really, really difficult to find jeans that fit.
And we have long... So Jodie Kidd, who's a good friend of mine, very tall girl, she... always shops with us, has all of our jeans, because she's 6'3", 6'4".
Is she really?
Tall. She's so tall. And we have lots of tall customers, and they come to us because they know, and they're there looking at them, trying to go, I cannot believe it's a 36-inch inside leg. And in fact, somebody then said to me recently at an event, but you're so short, it's strange that you have such long jeans. I'm like, well, I'm not making them just for me, darling.
Providing for everyone.
Imagine if I was only making stuff for me, everything would be like that. Oh. So we are denim experts, and I know that's for me, it's just stay in your lane. It's all about denim for me, and it's about looking at women's bodies, men's bodies, everything, and thinking, the most amazing thing is a pair of jeans. It feels modern, it makes you feel fresh, comfortable, ahead. It just never gets old. So I just love doing that one thing really, really well, including jeans for very tall girls.
And that's what you do well. Donna Ryder, really good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Do you feel enlightened?
I feel confused, conflicted, but also excited about what I'm going to be wearing at Christmas.
I think you and Donna need a little chat.
I'll help you.
Let's head off.
She'll sort you out. Yeah. Thank you so much, Donna. Still to come, will Wicked be a box office smash? I think so. We're going to be joined by Stephanie Secchi to tell us all about it.
But next, I'm going to be heading off to get some fashion tips on what to wear at Christmas. We're also going to be heading stateside to speak to Nelson Aspen to get the very latest on Donald Trump. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News.
Morning. Storm Bert is affecting the UK this weekend. Expect some disruption. The Met Office have issued a number of yellow warnings, and there is an amber warning in place for snow and ice across parts of the north. Heavy snow moving in as the system tracks northwards, but also some very heavy rain following on behind. Blustery winds as well, particularly around coast in the west, along the south coast, but also at times along parts of the east coast. Now, as the storm system moves in, it'll be bringing milder air, so things really warming up compared to recent days across across the south. Still pretty cold for most of the day across Scotland and northern England, but even here the milder air is eventually pushing in. That means the snow will be short-lived. Quite heavy through this morning into the early afternoon, but then easing off and turning back to rain. But that snow melting, coupled with the heavy rain, could cause some flooding. The rain extending into northern Scotland by this evening. Elsewhere across Scotland actually turning a little bit drier. A bit dry this afternoon too for Northern Ireland. But here's the milder air. Temperatures in double figures across much of England, Wales and Northern Ireland by this evening. But although it will be milder, it will be wet and windy for many. Further pulses of rain coming in across the south. Gusty winds also. It does calm down a little bit in some places as we head into Sunday, but overall a wet and windy night, but a very, very mild night. Temperatures actually rising through the night. So this evening, single figures across Scotland. By tomorrow morning, probably in double digits. And some parts of the south start tomorrow in the teens. So a very mild start, but still very wet and windy. It does turn brighter across Scotland. Some sunny spells here and for Northern Ireland. Showers coming into the northwest. The rain easing in parts of England and Wales too, but warnings remain in place for wind and rain, especially in southern parts of England. Expect some disruption through the course of this weekend thanks to Storm Bert. It's bringing lots of different hazards across different parts of the UK at different times. Check the Met Office website for the warning details.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe. Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Very good morning. Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Ellie Costello and Sam Francis with you for an hour and a half still to go, so don't go anywhere.
We are counting the minutes.
No.
The seal pup. Oh, my hair's gone a bit wild. The excitement of the denim.
Have we got some more coming in?
Yes, we do. Lynn says, call the seal Christian Grey. You guys are really good at this. Really good. And then we've got another one up here.
Martin says, great show. Where did Sam get that sweater? I want one.
Martin, don't encourage him. Are we allowed to do this? Oh, Uniqlo. Very good.
Well, we've done it now.
Well, I've done it now.
OK, shame. There are other fashion retailers out there.
Yeah,
other
shops are available.
Christian Grey. Any others coming in as well? Intrigued.
On Jeremy Clarkson, Mel says, and I think this is a very good idea, Mel, how about you bring Jeremy Clarkson to GB News as an investigator? Yes. Or a show about the British countryside. I'm seeing it already.
Absolutely.
That's a great idea, isn't it? Oh, and we've got one on the Cotswolds here, which leads us very nicely on to our next
Karen
story.
saying, A-listers, stay away from buying all our beautiful homes in the UK. We haven't got enough housing to go around without this mass exodus from the United States coming in. It is true.
Lots of people very unhappy about that. I'm just being told we do have pictures of these gorgeous seal pups that have been born. Oh,
Look
my
at
goodness!
that.
If you're listening on the radio, just imagine the cutest thing you've ever seen in your life.
I'm not convinced when I see that, though. I'm thinking Christian Grey.
No, that can't be Christian Grey. It looks like a girly-whirly to me.
It does.
That's...
Do we have confirmation
Dorian
on
Gray?
the gender?
I'd say it's a girl.
Yeah?
It's got to be a girl. It's got a pretty face.
OK.
So we need to come up... What would you call a seal pup that's a girl?
I'm happy with Sammy Jr., to be fair.
Oh, of course you are. Maybe Ellie?
The more Sams, the better. Do you know, it could be an Ellie.
It could be an Ellie.
It could be an Ellie.
Yeah.
Short and frumpy. I mean...
Well, we know. I'm the furthest thing from short. Anyway, let us know what you think on that. What would you call a grey seal pup, which we think may be a girl?
We think.
Not to be confirmed.
We think we will find out.
GBNews.com/you'll say.
Right, let's turn from seals to politics now. In the United States, reportedly in the wake of Donald Trump's election victory, TV star Ellen DeGeneres has already fled the United States and moved right here to the UK in the Cotswolds.
Well, to tell us more, we're delighted to be joined now by journalist and author Nelson Aspin, live from New York. Good to see you as always, Nelson. And it seems like all of these Americans are heading from LA to the Cotswolds.
Well, Ellen DeGeneres is your problem now. So good luck with that. and she's been spotted in the pub with newly dyed brown hair. So I don't know if she's trying to be incognito or reinvent herself in advance of her upcoming 67th birthday. But she and her wife, Portia de Rossi, have taken to the Cotswolds. I should point out that, yes, while they have taken up residence there, they already owned the house. Ellen has always been a bit of a real estate mogul and has homes all over the place. They reportedly are listing their Montecito, California home for sale because they have become so disillusioned with the idea of America after a Trump victory. Of course, we've been hearing this from stars for years, like Barbra Streisand or Cher or Robert De Niro. Oh, if the Republicans wins, we're out of here. Keep in mind, all these people have production companies and assets here in the United States. So even if their bodies aren't here, their bank accounts are still here. You mentioned America Ferrara, also going to the UK. Eva Longoria was sort of famously touted in the last week as having relocated to her homes in Spain and Mexico, and she came out very vigorously to deny that it had anything to do with the elections. It's that she already had homes there, she's working there, and I thought it was rather refreshing that she was pointing out that it had nothing to do with the elections, that she just happened to be in another country.
Are you tempted, Nelson?
I bloom where I'm planted, so wherever you send me, I'll be happy.
And you love New York too much, so don't fool us. We know that you love New York.
I'm still waiting for you to get here. And Sam, if you bring we have Uniqlo here, so we can get you a sweater. And I just want those sneakers.
Well, maybe
we'll swap. I'll take the black, you can have the cream.
Yeah, he looks a lot smarter than you. Look, we've got to talk to you about these viral clips of Baron Trump, Nelson, because they've been all over TikTok, haven't they? All over Instagram. It seems like with the success of Donald Trump's second presidency, people are now fascinated by his son, Baron. Let's just show you this clip.
I like my suitcase. I have to go to school now.
Yeah, you will have lunch and then you go to school.
Now I'm gonna go.
Yeah, first you will have lunch and then you go to school.
Now you can do reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Nelson, I love it because he has a thick Slovenian accent. Who knew?
That just goes to show you that he spent a lot of time with his mom, Melania, and that she was a real hands-on mom. And she promises in this second term of her husband's that she's going to be a part-time first lady and a full-time mom. So we will see less of her in Washington, D.C. and more of her here in New York City, where her son, Baron, is going to school. What I am charmed about with the videos, including his Slovenian accent, is all little kids obsess with certain things, whether it's a lunchbox or a blanket, whatever it is. I know my dad was a doctor, so I was always having my dad's stethoscope around my neck to take. So to see Baron with a suitcase is pretty on brand for me. And it's also charming to see now he's kind of an enigma. He's silent. We just see his 6'9" giant form walking around with his father. But he's kind of the secret charm weapon for the Trumps, because we don't know a lot about him, but he's this good-looking young fellow who apparently is very smart and switched on, and was the operative who convinced his father to start doing podcasts and more modern contemporary forms of public relations. So Baron might have a very bright future, not only in politics, but is certainly quite maybe the most popular member of the Trump family right now.
Do we know when that clip was?
No.
It must be a good 10. Nelson,
yeah, I think he was 4. I think he was 4 years old in that clip. So, and he's 18 now.
So it must be 14 years ago.
14 years ago.
Quick maths, 2010.
Thank you.
There you are.
Good. I was never any good at maths. Nelson, just finally, the top team for Donald Trump. We've sort of had murmurings coming out this past week on who he's chosen. There has now been some controversy around his pick for Attorney General as well. How are you feeling that's going to ultimately play out over the next couple of days?
It was quite controversial when he named Matt Gaetz as his choice for Attorney General. Of course, Matt Gaetz was facing allegations of sexual misconduct, illicit drug use. Matt Gaetz backed out before facing the confirmation process. And this may, if you're a conspiracy theorist, and sort of how can you not be, this may have been a loyalty test to show that Matt Gaetz was loyal to Trump. So he has now dropped out of consideration, and Trump has named former Floridian Attorney General Pam Bondi as his pick for Attorney General. She's really pro-Israel. She's very anti-migrant. We'll see how that plays out. But Matt Gaetz's future, hey, he dodged the investigation into the nefarious behavior, and he may very well be named as a replacement senator for Marco Rubio of Florida if Marco Rubio is approved as Secretary of State. So it's all this massive game of chess, and we'll see how it plays out. Trump is naming his picks at lightning speed, and it's quite diverse. You've got the first openly gay seat for Treasury Secretary, an ex-NFL star for Housing and Urban Development. So he's really assembling sort of a rainbow coalition.
Nelson, as always, an absolute delight to see you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Also interesting, I think we've got the first ever female chief of staff in the White House due to come. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, and
first
is
ever
she
female
really
in this day
young?
and age. No, she's...
Or is it comms?
It's the other way around.
One of
I
them
think
is
she's
very,
68.
very young. Oh, right, OK.
But still, first ever female chief
Maybe
of
it's
staff
press.
in history.
Press secretary is something like 27.
Wow.
It is diverse. Nelson's right. So
Good grief.
very interesting. Let us know what you think. GBNews.com/you'll say.
Still to come, though, we will be getting the very latest from the world of showbiz with Stephanie Tecci. All still to come here on Saturday Morning Live. Stay with us here on GB News.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
On the 8th of October at Battersea Arts Centre, a new orchestra launched its inaugural season. The orchestra, which is named Chromatica, is formed of some of the best young musicians in Britain. They're due to perform in traditional venues and in community spaces. The aim is to bring their youth and dynamism to a wide repertoire of music. Predominantly, they'll work with emerging conductors who will have the chance to shape the orchestra and its repertoire. To share her experiences of bringing the ensemble together, I'm joined by the violinist and Chromatica Orchestra lead, Maren Bosma. To what extent is this novel? To what extent is this new ground?
Well, new ground, it is new ground in a sense that this is a completely new orchestra. Obviously, in the current sort of cultural climate, it's not really easy to set up a new orchestra. And so in that sense, it's a novelty for us to kind of try and carve out our space in the current climate of musical orchestras and musicians in Britain.
Yes, I mean, it's quite odd in a way to think of a new orchestra because the ones that we have tend to be struggling and numbers indeed have been reduced. I used to be associated with an orchestra which unfortunately went under. You've got some private backing for this.
Yeah.
Why do you think the private backers have been willing to give you support? What is it that they see as your unique selling proposition?
Well, Chromatica Orchestra essentially is an early career orchestra. So we're formed of all sort of top musicians who've graduated in, say, the last sort of 5 to 10 years. Because everyone is of that generation, there is a sort of enthusiasm and dynamism that we bring to the stage, I think is quite unique. The orchestra's mission, it's really focused on creating opportunities for young emerging musicians.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe. Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
got any views?
I think we might do. Let's have a quick look. Welcome back, by the way.
Welcome back.
To Saturday Morning Live. Just having a quick look here if any more SEAL names have come in.
Oh, let's do this one, because
OK.
this leads us nicely into our next story.
Claire on the Band-Aid. We now know 40 members were in the original Band-Aid.
Oh, well done.
Which is pretty significant. They're saying it's a song for love of God, Claire says. People are so ridiculously precious these days. It's infuriating.
Yeah, and she says, so what if it snows in some parts of Africa? You don't need to change the blooming lyrics because of that. And Pippi says it's time for the UK to stop donating to Band-Aid and start spending your money at home. Well, we are going to be talking about this. Oh, there's one more down here from Brian, who
Let's
says...
get Ed Sheeran to do a British aid for poor kids and families here in the UK. I think there is a general sense that more needs to be done right here at home.
Yeah, especially in a cost of living crisis at this time of year. Let's talk about the box office, shall we? Because the film Wicked has been released, following in the footsteps of Gladiator, which was last weekend. Oh, sorry, Gladiator 2. Yes, last weekend. So 2 mega hits at the cinemas at once. It's like a bus, isn't it? We're waiting for a bus, then 2 come along at once.
I've never heard that before, but I guess yes.
It's a very popular turn of phrase.
OK. OK. It's like a bus, apparently. But will the bus of films light up the box office? That is the question. Let's turn to our showbiz reporter, Stephanie Tetchy. Do you think this bus of films is...
She knows what I mean.
I know what you mean. They usually say it's like men. Like, if you're waiting for one doesn't come, then 2 come. So I get it, I get it.
Buses, men.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Apparently Gladiator 2 was disappointing.
No. I actually, the reviews have been quite good. But the thing is, both of these films have big shoes to fill.
Yes.
You know, when you think of Wicked, it's a musical, it's a hit on the West End, it's a hit on Broadway, so it's a totally different experience than transporting it into the cinemas. But I think it's always with these things, curiosity killed the cat. You know, people are going to want to watch Gladiator because it's 20 years since we saw Russell Crowe take on that epic role of Maximus. So now it's like we've got Paul Mescal in it. So I think people are interested, and I think with the cinema, since the pandemic, people have kind of fallen out of love with cinemas, and I think it's still a good experience. Let's support our cinemas. Let's go to the cinemas, get your popcorn and watch these films. And I think it's quite clever marketing tricks, because I think there's a lot of films that come out that do not appeal to people nowadays because they can go on Netflix, they can go on Amazon Prime. But with these 2 blockbusters, I think it's going to be a battle of the sexes. You'll find more men drawing near to Gladiator and more women wanting to see Wicked. And I think Wicked, personally, will be a hit with fans, because both Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, they actually sing live in the film. They both said, no, we don't want to do pre-recorded. In this day and age of auto-tune and everything, they're actually singing live. So I think it will bring that theatrical experience.
I mean, I think regardless of whether the film is any good, that's part of the experience I would choose to go and see, is just to sit in that cinema room and just hear the sound.
Well, the director, John Shue, said it's going to be like going to a concert, except it's going to be in a cinema. So I think people will just be interested for that and just to see if they both can pull off these second versions. But this is the first instalment, so there'll be a second instalment of Wicked coming out next year.
Yay, can't wait. I need to get to the cinema and see that, actually. I'm going to go with my mum and my sister.
I want to see both of them, actually, in the cinema. Yeah.
She heard me promise Stephen that I'd go with him, and she's like,
excuse
you really
me?
mean that? No, what about me? So, no, Mum, if you're listening, I will go with you to see Wicked. Look, can we talk about Band-Aid, because it's got all of our...
Yeah, and rightly so. It's been a bit of a hot topic this week, whether we should still be supporting Band-Aid. Ed Sheeran came out and said that he did not agree for his lyrics to be used on a 40th anniversary special edition of the song. Obviously, we're getting near to Christmas, and Band-Aid is just one of those beloved tracks that we all like to play. But now we've had artists saying that actually it's quite colonial in the sense of the mentality of portraying Africa as a poor continent that still needs all this aid. There was a rapper called Fuse ODG who's done his version, which is We Know It's Christmas, because he's saying actually Bob Geldof's song is not aid in Africa, but it's reinforcing stereotypes. Bob Geldof has come out this week and said, actually, we've sent hundreds of thousands of pounds to places like Sudan, where there is a war right now, and we are actually helping. So actually, our money is actually going to good causes. But, you know, when you think about this country ourselves, we are going through a cost of living crisis. So maybe artists need to, if they're so up in arms about it, then do something. Use your talent to help the people who are going through poverty this Christmas in our country. Being Ghanaian myself, I do understand that sometimes the stereotypes are a bit wrong. strong of Africa. We have kind of moved on from that day and age where Africa is poor. It's quite a now uprising continent, so maybe the lyrics do need to be changed, but I think it does have good intentions.
Just before we came back from the break, we were just reflecting on the last couple of days of Liam Payne and his funeral taking place very recently.
It's been a long, hard month to get here, and I can only imagine what's happening or how his family must feel now that he's been laid to rest. As to be expected with any music star, it was a star-studded turnout. We had Simon Cowell, we had all the One Direction boys. It was the first time in a decade that they've actually been reunited. I think a lot of fans were hoping that it could have been in happier circumstances, but it was quite an emotional affair. Cheryl Cole was there with their son, but
very moving picture.
It was very moving. We saw Simon Cowell, who literally looked like he was breaking down in front of his parents, because I think it's just such a tragic way to go, and just he was so young, and he was very much a beloved member of the music industry, so I'm not surprised to see those scenes at all. There is still a lot going on in Argentina with the 3 people who have been charged with his death. In the Daily Mail today, as we were discussing, there's some really haunting pictures of Liam being manhandled back into his room. So there's still a lot of questions on what could have been done to save Liam Payne and how this tragedy could have been avoided.
And Steph, I imagine the reporting, because we've spoken before about how if this happened to Liam Payne in this country, we wouldn't have access to the sorts of pictures that we have been seeing. They have very different rules, don't they, in Argentina?
They do. It's been a free-for-all. Like, just even when Liam died, the way they just released it all. If that was the UK, we would have taken a bit of time, given respect to the family. The pictures which are now being sold to TMZ and all these different publications, I think I understand why the parent says there's been a lack of respect and privacy in the way that's been handled. But unfortunately, this is the day and age we live in, and people feel like they've got a right to know these things or sell these things.
And speaking about those parents, I think one of the things that struck me through it all, and particularly at the funeral as well, was just how composed they have been.
Oh my gosh, I really do not understand. You know, no parent should have to bury their child, and I think the way they've managed to actually still interact with fans and make sure that Liam gets the best send-off ever. I can imagine Liam must have loved his family, because they come as a really heartwarming family. And one thing they wanted to say, we know he was a global superstar, but he was just our Liam.
Yeah.
Oh,
still their son.
How lovely. I was listening to a podcast with him recently, and he just loved his family so much. He was so proud of his parents. Dad had worked in a factory, and he actually said at the time he had a job lined up before the X Factor to work with his dad in the factory, and he says, even now, I would have been happy to have worked with my dad. So that just kind of shows how close they are.
The price of fame, unfortunately.
Stephanie, always good to see you.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements, or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion. For your chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion, Mark Meets, and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, I'm Ellie Costello alongside Sam Francis, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Good to have your company. We've got an hour left on the show, so don't go anywhere. It is action-packed, including all of the day's top stories with Dr. Rakib Eshan and Annette Keller.
Stock up on food and water as Storm Bert sweeps across the UK. And that's as the police warn against road travel in some parts of the country.
As seasons change, so can our mood. We'll be speaking to a mental well-being expert about seasonal affective disorder.
A sixth tourist has died following suspected methanol poisoning in Laos. We'll be speaking to an expert on toxicology about how this tragedy could have occurred.
And do you ever wonder what your dog is thinking? I certainly wonder what my co-host is thinking. Later on Good News, we'll be bringing you some top tips from a dog whisperer. You don't want to miss it.
Sam Francis, did you just compare me to a dog? I think you might have done.
No, I didn't.
I think that's just what happened.
No, I didn't.
Yes.
I was just saying I could do with some top tips on how to manage you.
Ah, well, the same could be said for you.
Yeah.
But on the pet issue, the dog issue, I do think lots of people think they know what their dog is thinking at all times.
I vaguely remember the last time we did this show together, we were also talking about dogs.
We generally do on this show.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. But my mum is convinced she knows what the dog is thinking and saying at all times, even though she's not actually saying any words, you know?
Do you think your mum would invest in a dog therapy session?
She'd say she wouldn't need one because she already knows
She's already
what the
in
dog is
tune.
saying. She's very in tune. Yeah, so let us know if you've got dogs at home. Do you know what they're saying to you at all times?
I wonder if you can do the same with hamsters.
Do you have a hamster?
Or fish. No, I'm just wondering whether it's about the size of a dog's brain.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I feel like you can read them.
While I dig myself a hole...
Out of this hole?
Out of this hole, let's go and get your news headlines with Sophie Reaper.
A very good morning to you. The time is just after 11 o'clock and these are your latest headlines. As Storm Bert continues to batter much of the UK, the Met Office has issued amber and yellow weather warnings, as well as 16 flood alerts coming into place. This morning, winds of up to 68 miles per hour have been recorded and 13 centimetres of snow has fallen in some parts of the country. In Ireland, the Electricity Supply Board has said that high winds have caused power outages for around 60,000 customers. That's while flights at Newcastle Airport have been disrupted. Our Northern Ireland reporter Dewberry is in County Down for us today, and he's been urging people to take care.
Late last night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, we had snow. Now we've been battered by winds and really, really ice-cold rain. It's not sleet. The rain is just so freezing cold. And what's happened is the roads are now flooded, trees are down, and underneath that line, water is ice. So anybody that is out and about this morning, please, please be very, very careful.
The King attended the annual Royal Variety performance last night, although he was forced to go alone after the Queen had to miss it due to her ill health. King Charles accepted flowers on the Queen's behalf, as following a recent chest infection, Queen Camilla had to pull out last minute. A royal source has said that the Queen was naturally disappointed at having to miss the event. Following a High Court ruling yesterday, Nikita Hand was awarded almost €250,000 in damages. That's after she accused MMA fighter Conor McGregor of raping her back in 2018. However, in response to the ruling, McGregor took to social media platform X to say the following: "I will be appealing today's decision. I'm with my family now, focused on my future. Thank you to all my support worldwide." Meanwhile, outside the court yesterday, Nikita spoke emotionally about wanting to be a story of hope for victims of sexual assault.
I want to show Freya and every other girl and boy that you can stand up for yourself if something happens to you, no matter who the person is, and justice will be served. To all the victims of sexual assault, I hope my story is a reminder that no matter how afraid you might be, speak up, you have a voice, and keep on fighting for justice.
Although the government has introduced proposals for stricter measures for antisocial behaviour because of their devolved powers, Scotland would not be included. The respect orders would clamp down on antisocial behaviour across the board, but one element people have expressed they're particularly pleased about is the new power to clamp down on e-bikes and e-scooters. In Glasgow, people have been asking if Scotland should now follow suit to tighten policing around this issue.
England are about to tie that in with their new ASBO tight order, respect orders. I think Scotland needs to have a look at how we're handling them.
Very much so, yeah. Because, as I say to you, especially the electric one, because they can, a bit of speed, I just almost get bumped into just walking up there and now.
I'm an elderly person and I'm always scared, you know, they could knock you down.
Exactly.
And they don't care.
They should stop at traffic lights because any other cyclists are giving them a bad name. And I'm friends with a couple of near misses with them as well, so.
Remember the old ASBOs? Well, do you think Scotland should do a wee rework as well?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Jeremy Corbyn will join the latest demonstration calling for the UK to ban the sale of arms to Israel later this morning. The protest will gather at Glasgow Green and will then march through the city centre. The independent MP and veteran anti-war campaigner has been announced as one of the speakers at the rally. Zayn Malik will begin his nationwide tour today, with this being his first performance since the funeral of former One Direction bandmate Liam Payne earlier this week. Held in Buckinghamshire, Zayn attended the funeral on Wednesday alongside other former band members Harry Styles, Niall Horan and Louis Tomlinson. Zayn's tour was scheduled to kick off in Edinburgh on the day of Liam's funeral, but the date was moved as a result. And the first grey seal pup of the season has been born at a former weapons testing site along the Suffolk coastline. The birth marks the 4th year in a row of seals breeding there. It began there following reduced visitor access during the pandemic. The National Trust has said that more than 130 seal pups were born there last year, with the breeding site now being described as a brilliant wildlife success story. Those are your latest GB News headlines for now. It's back to Sam and Ellie.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you very much for those news headlines and good morning to you. Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Right, Sophie, don't go anywhere. I want to know, what would your name be for the seal pup? We've had Celia. We've had Christian Grey. We've had Sammy.
You like Sammy.
You're trying to get Ellie squeezed into the picture.
It looks like a girl to me.
Sophie?
So I've got two answers. Because we don't know the gender, I'm saying if it's male, I'm going to go Poseidon, Greek god of the sea.
That's good.
I think that's quite a good one. And then if it's a girl, I'm going to go more sentimental. When I was younger, I had a cuddly toy that looked just like that, and that was a girl, and it was named Sylvie.
Sylvie.
Oh, Sylvie.
I would go
so
with
I've got
Sylvie.
two, one for each.
I think you might have won it there, actually, Sophie, with Sylvie.
Yes.
I think that might be it.
If anyone can beat Sylvie, let us know, gbnews.com/your say.
Yeah. Now, Storm Bert is on the way, bringing with it heavy rain, strong winds and disruptive snow to areas of the UK. In fact, it's already hit large parts of the UK, including parts of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Well, joining us now from County Down is GB News reporter Dewberry Beattie. Dewberry, you have really been thrown about in the wind and the rain this morning. How's it looking there now?
Well, the weather itself has calmed down a lot. There is no more of that really vicious winds or driving rain or snow that came with it at 3 o'clock this morning. But our roads were already frozen here from last week. It was a lot of still lying snow. And of course, the water has washed that off the fields and down into the roads. So what we're seeing is a lot of debris down into the manholes and gratings around the roads that have meant that most roads here are flooded. And we're talking main roads. There is some housing estates apparently as well flooded. Roofs off in the northwest of the province, out across the roads, blocking how everybody gets about. But we're just here outside Newtown Ards, and you can see behind me here the electricity service is working quite hard to restore power to this area. And if you look there, you can see the engineers up in the tree, and what they're actually trying to do is free the cable. And the cable has came down with a massive branch of the tree that has came down. It has caught the cable on the way down in and has taken out power to this region. So there's a lot of people in Newton Ards heading towards Belfast. If you're waking up and saying I've no power, this is the very reason why you've no power. And this is really quite a hard thing to do for the electricity service, because they've to try and untangle the branches and the mess that is there without cutting the cable to get the power back up as quickly as possible. And of course, that cable may well be damaged. So you can see the man on the tree at the minute, he's trying to untangle stuff. And there's guys just off to the right of us here with chainsaws, etc., that will be cutting it up. And beside us here, there's just a little shredder that shreds all the branches and takes it off the road quite quickly. But yes, this morning in Northern Ireland, that type of damage will be disrupting travel around the province. But as I said, the storm has really left us now and is very much making land in the United Kingdom, or in Britain's mainland. The Republic of Ireland has got it worse, mind you. South Cork and West Galway have also got hit. About 60,000 houses there without power. But the Irish crews and Scottish crews are well versed in bringing power back on.
OK, Dewberry Beattie, thank you so much. Go get yourself a nice hot tea. All of our viewers are very concerned about you and saying we shouldn't be asking you any more questions. And he's gone.
I feel guilty. Stuck here in a warm studio and
I have been in that position a number of times, and I know how it feels. And it's Toby won't be able to feel his toes.
Some people love it.
I know. I feel like Dougie's actually dressed for the elements, which is more than I could ever say that I was.
Prepped and warm.
He is a practical man.
Not something I'll be offering to do anytime soon, that's for sure.
I think we're very happy here, aren't we?
Right. Now we're going to look through the top stories of the day. We're delighted to be joined again by our panel this morning. Dr. Eshan and lifestyle journalist Annette Kello with us. Good morning.
Morning.
Back. Warm, toasty, dry.
Very nice in there. Very nice and warm.
Good, good, good. Feeding you with cups of tea in the green room.
2 now.
2?
Yep.
Good, good. Let's turn to a bit of royal news. Rumour has it King Charles is set to embark on another tour, this time to India. But there are concerns around the amount of money that's being spent at the moment. Yesterday, I think it was £72 million revealed on the coronation. What do you make of the plans to head abroad again?
Well, being a passionate monarchist of Bangladeshi and Indian origin, I'm absolutely delighted to hear that King Charles III will be going on a tour of the Indian subcontinent. I'm a big believer in the Commonwealth, actually. I think that in recent times, the UK foreign policy establishment has neglected the Commonwealth in terms of recognising its strategic potential. And UK-India relations will be a big part of that. So I'm quite glad to hear that King Charles III will be visiting India. And I think that it's really important that in the context of the Commonwealth as well, there's deep deepen cooperation in terms of trade, education, the environment, but also defence and security. And I actually did a report for an organisation called Policy Exchange called One Family, which did polling across a number of Commonwealth countries. And it showed that the one country which most believed that the UK does more good than harm in the world was India. The average Indian was more likely to think that than the average Brit. So I think that we really need to make the most of that goodwill and affection towards the UK among the Indian people.
We did see the odd protest, didn't we, at the King's tour of Australia recently. Do you think that he and the Queen, potentially if she goes too, would be received well in India?
I think that, firstly, in terms of those protests, they were very small in number. I think it was just a few individuals, to be honest. There's many pro-monarchist celebrations on that tour, which included Australia, but also Samoa, where the most recent Commonwealth Leaders Summit was held. I think that there's a great deal of affection towards the royal family and more generally traditional British institutions within the Indian subcontinent. So I think that it'll be a very positive tour on the whole.
Brilliant. Sorry, Annette, just drinking my water.
That's all right.
There's another royal story in the papers today, and this is about the Princess of Wales. And she just a beautiful, her Christmas Carol concert every single year, but this year she's extended her invite to people that are very special.
I think this is such an important thing, and we have to remember that Kate herself has been getting better. I also think people have sort of not been speaking about it so much, and I think it's really important that people are still talking about it. It's very fresh. It was only the end of July.
So just to say, it's the Southport victims' families who have been invited to the Christmas Carol concert.
Right. Yes, and I think as well it would be interesting to know what charities are also supporting the victims, because I think that's really important going forward. It's great that Kate's getting more involved with this because she's associated with lots of charities, and I think that's really important moving forward that they are supported. It's going to take them many, many years. Forever. I mean, how does one even go about getting over something like that?
No, you can't even imagine, can you? But you know, with the Prince and Princess of Wales, that they have been very deeply affected by this. I mean, one of the first public duties that she actually undertook was going up to Southport, and she met then the families, the victims' families then, privately. And you can tell that this obviously meant a lot to her, because now, hosting the Christmas Carol concert, she's invited them again. She obviously wants to keep up
building that relationship,
which is just so lovely, I think.
Yeah, I think that's really important going forward. And I think as well, even though she's had her health issues, I think she wants to get out there again, and you can see that now she's starting to be with more charitable causes, which I think is so important.
Absolutely.
There's a bit of potentially alarming health news also on the radar this morning. The number of people being admitted to hospital suffering bad reactions to the ever-growing use of these weight loss jabs seems to be on the rise.
I think it's a very serious problem, isn't it? And I think that I never truly like this. I think that if in terms of weight loss, I think the sort of bread and butter of eating sensibly and exercising regularly. Now, of course, there are many people who say, I'm incredibly busy, they might even work more than one job, so they might not find the time. And also, we have to make the point that gym membership is not necessarily cheap. Especially in what I'd consider to be quite relatively deprived communities. But I think that what it shows that if, in a way, these measures, which are ultimately designed to be shortcuts in terms of losing weight, they can actually be quite counterproductive.
And just looking at the figures, 274 people hospitalised because of those slimming injections, far higher than the 68
huge jump
recorded last month. So it really is jumping.
Yeah.
Do you think that's just because more people are taking them, or more awareness?
Well, allegedly, it's getting easier to get it on the black market. People are sharing prescriptions, and I know there was something in the Daily Mail recently about sharing prescriptions and somebody getting very sick from that. And I think as well, whilst we can look at it as this shortcut to getting thin, remember, Ozempic doesn't decide where it takes from. So, you know, you might just say, oh, I just want to lose a bit on my bottom, but actually Ozempic will go everywhere. And I think people can end up looking quite gaunt. Now, I personally know somebody who has been taking it, and I asked him, well, what do you eat today? Because it's an appetite suppressor. And he said, oh, I had a couple of slices of cucumber and a piece of bread. And I was thinking, well, whilst that is, you know, making you thinner, that's not necessarily healthy. So like you were saying about going to the gym, incorporating exercise into your everyday life, eating healthy, I think there's no shortcuts with health.
No, and you're not actually learning any lessons, are you, by just injecting a weight loss? You're not learning anything about nutrition, about looking after your body.
Absolutely.
So unless you are injecting, every month for the rest of your life, I mean, eventually those lessons are going to have to be learned. Otherwise, you'll just
It's got to be part of a bigger package of
Absolutely.
lifestyle change, hasn't it?
You'll go back to those habits and you'll regain the weight.
But even Keir Starmer was saying for people that are obese and are unemployed, I don't know if you remember that story a few weeks ago, that they were thinking of giving it to them on the NHS to help them get into employment. But then there's been uproar from people saying, well, some people pay for it, and then also we don't know the long-term effects. So, yeah, it's... interesting.
And I think you make such a good point that ultimately you want to take ownership of your own health and you want to be self-sufficient, and I think that actually discourages that.
Yeah, it certainly does. Just got a few views here on Jeremy Clarkson, our discussion that we were having in the last hour, whether he should enter politics. Jero says, Jeremy Clarkson enter politics? Absolutely. Unfortunately, he tells it how it is, so he wouldn't last very long. And Terence has been in touch. So.
By the way, people used to say that about President Trump, that he wouldn't last very long because he has a certain style, and now he's been elected
Here comes the second term, yeah, exactly.
But as you were saying, lots of people do find that very refreshing, actually, because there does seem to be a bit of a...
Yeah, I think that many people think that the House of Commons is dominated by bland technocrats, so when you find someone who's a bit of a straight talker, says it how it is, they find it quite refreshing.
And we've also got one from Terence who says, Jeremy would be a very good political figure, but is the UK and Parliament ready for honest, straight talking, which is your point, Dr. Escher? Possibly not. Like Nigel Farage, he speaks with honesty, a thing that many cannot handle.
And he's a professional speaker. That's what he did. He was a TV presenter, so he's ready and polished and potentially good to go.
Be good to go. Yeah, well, do keep your views coming in on any of the stories that we've been talking about this morning. gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, we have just been speaking about weight loss jabs, so we just need to share this right of reply from Novo Nordisk, who have described patient safety as of the utmost importance, adding that we actively monitor reports of adverse drug reactions through routine checks.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you so much, Rakib and Annette. Still to come, we will be joined by a dog whisperer to the stars.
And up next, have you ever been affected by seasonal affective disorder? You've got a fancy lamp.
I have.
Does it work?
It does work. That's why I look amazing, sound amazing. I'm just full of life this morning.
Well, there you are. We're going to get all the details after this short break.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Rees-Mogg, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
What about train Wi-Fi? It's so funny the Times did this story, because I was on the train yesterday trying to do some work and connecting to the Wi-Fi, and it happens all the time. It just doesn't work. It's pathetic. And then I opened the Times and they've done a massive investigation. Loads of different rail routes from north to south.
Was that the James Bond thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What's that passenger got through, or almost got through, one episode of one James Bond movie in 8 hours.
But you know, it's interesting. We call it train Wi-Fi, but it isn't. It's just really a SIM card on a train, really. So if your own phone's not going to get signal, why would we assume that the train's going to have signal? It just doesn't work like that. Unless you're in Japan or South Korea, whose infrastructure is infinitely better than ours, you're just not going to get signal. You have to download those films way before you get on this.
There is technology that can help with that. You know, there really is. If they found ways to put it underground, they can get it on ground and get you going. I definitely think, you know, with the price that we're paying for these tickets, they can get the Wi-Fi going. There is technology.
That's why it's so frustrating, isn't
Call
it?
Elon, get a Starlink. Let's go.
If you're a passenger paying hundreds of pounds for a season ticket or whatever you call it, and you commute to work every single day, and you're paying all this money, and you can't.
It's so expensive. You'd expect Wi-Fi at the basic. Yeah, exactly.
But it happens with phone signal as well. I'll be walking down London in Park Lane or somewhere else, or down on the south coast. I just don't have phone signal, and I think to myself, what on earth is going on?
Doesn't it feel like 5G's made it worse, though?
Yeah.
Because I feel like 4G, that didn't happen so much, but 5G just feels like...
Yeah, and then I always get this little E in the top corner of my phone, and I don't get any signal. I think it's got worse over the past couple of years. Yeah, especially with 5G. I agree with that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Very good morning to you. It is 11:23 and we're going to turn straight now to news of the seasons changing, which means that our mood can potentially change as well. According to a new study, around 1 in 20 people are diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder across the UK.
Yes, Healthwatch has revealed that men are more likely to suffer from this than women. Did you know?
Triggers apparently include a decrease in daylight hours, which is certainly happening around about now. If you're leaving the office, it's dark. When you come home, it's dark, as well as the falling temperatures.
Yes, and both of those things happen a lot, don't they, here in Britain? So how can we combat the symptoms of seasonal affective disorder? Well, to discuss this, we're joined now by Dr. Andreas Fonseca, the founder and director of Thrive Mental Wellbeing. Really good to see you this morning, Doctor. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Now, there'll be lots of people watching and listening this morning and saying, what a load of rubbish. It's always been cold in this country. It's always been dark. What is seasonal affective disorder? Is it really a thing?
Well, it is a thing, and it's been known for quite some time. This is not new, really. It is a form of depression. That's what it is. And it's got specific characteristics that kind of differentiate it from other forms of depression. So the reason probably we're talking more about it is because it's basically people are more aware of it and they're recognizing it more. So before you used to be sort of just saying this person's got depression, now you have some specific things to look at that can differentiate it from other kinds of depression, which is quite useful because it's got some specific forms of treatment. So the things that are different about seasonal affective disorder are that for the diagnosis you need 2 years in which you only have episodes during either the late autumn or early winter. So that's when they start, and they fade away by late spring, summer. Early summer. So that's how it works. And you cannot have any episodes at any other time. So it has to be seasonal, specifically seasonal. And also it has some specific symptoms that are more associated with it than with other forms of depression. For example, is lethargy, low energy, eating more, so overeating, and oversleeping. So normally in depression, you may see some insomnia. In this case, it's kind of quite the opposite. It's an opposite. You can have oversleeping in other forms of depression, but it's more typical of this condition. So that's how you tell it apart from others. And yes, it is about 5%. It goes more or less, if you look at the southernmost parts of England, that would be around 3%, and then it goes up as you go up in latitude, or up north.
Are there any things that you can put in place before you're diagnosed to try and prevent or stop being at risk, or is it more you tackle it once you have it?
I mean, there are things that you can do that wouldn't hurt. So bright light is this specific treatment for it. So if it is diagnosed and if it is confirmed that it is seasonal affective disorder, one of the forms of treatment, sometimes in conjunction with other forms of treatment, would be bright light. But nothing stops you from using it in case you might be affected. So if you have a bright light, really, really bright light, so it has to be 10,000 lux, which is actually very, very bright. It has to be indirect light, and it has to be from above is the best. And when you first wake up, if you're consistent with that, and it's about half an hour of having this, and that wouldn't hurt or help. If you don't have seasonal affective disorder, it's not going to hurt you. Yeah.
And you can buy those lamps online, can't you? You've got a fancy.
I have one.
You've got a fancy one, haven't you?
Really, not that expensive. Well worth doing. I mean,
Did you feel like you were suffering?
I don't know whether it was a sense of just feeling a bit low in the winter because it's cold, it's miserable, everybody feels that, or whether genuinely, it's worth going to get checked and, be diagnosed. But switching on the lamp in the morning with my coffee, it genuinely does make a difference. It's just brighter, it lifts my mood, it makes me feel ready for the day. Because, when you're Googling how to sort your morning routine out, go and get daylight is the first thing it says. And, you know, genuinely, we can't do that in the UK.
No, I mean, it's dark most of the time in the winter, so it gets dark very early. It's dark until quite late. So yeah, I mean, it's one solution around that. And when the weather is worse, so when we don't get any sunlight for quite some time, then it can be worse.
What do you do about temperature, though? Because obviously we can sort the light issue out by having a lamp or whatever. We can take vitamin D supplements, which we were talking about just a moment ago as well. Temperature, is it just a case of wrap up warm and deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, we don't see a link between temperature, low temperature, and seasonal affective disorder. It's more the light. The light seems to be the thing that is linked to it and predicts it. And when you look at the genetics of it, it is circadian rhythm, clock genes are called, and things of that nature that we know are affected in this particular form of depression. So cold doesn't necessarily interfere with it. It's mostly exposure to light and messing about with your circadian rhythm.
What about vitamin D that we just touched upon there? So there is no sunlight in this country, especially in winter. I mean, should we all be taking vitamin D, or is it just certain people?
No, I mean, all is I wouldn't say there's one solution for everybody. The best way to know whether you need vitamin D or not is a simple blood test will tell you the level, and then that can help your doctor decide what the actual dose you need to supplement. And most people will need some vitamin D in this country in the winter, for sure. Yes.
Because you do feel so much better being on holiday, don't you? In the sunshine, maybe that's something to do with being relaxed, but seeing the light, having the heat on your skin.
Your body physically, mine physically relaxes as you lie down in the sun.
Yeah, so do you think the numbers could be a lot higher than what we're being told? I mean, 3% seems quite low.
So 3 to 5, yeah, but I mean, there's a subclinical form of it, which is you don't have the full complement of symptoms. They're not affecting, they're not causing distress, they're not causing dysfunction, but they are affecting you, and they're affecting your mood, sort of similar to what you describe. So yeah, that's about double. So you can get up to, you know, depending on where you are in the world, but you can get up to almost 20% prevalence in the, northernmost countries, Alaska, places like that where it's really dark and not a lot of sunlight. Then you get those pictures. So in this country would go, the subclinical syndrome is around 10%, up to 10% of the population. Yeah.
Still a lot, isn't it? People
it is a lot.
With seasonal affective disorder, 10%.
Someone should have warned Ellen DeGeneres.
Yes.
That wouldn't be the seasonal affective disorder. It would be like a mild form of it, but also will benefit from some of these things that we've been talking about.
Dr. Andreas, really good to speak to you today. We could talk to you all morning about this. Thank you very much.
Buy a lamp, that's what I say.
Yes, and it's actually good timing, because obviously Black Friday sales, get all the tech and vitamin D. Speak to your doctor.
Stock up, get ready for the winter, because it's already here. Lots more, though, still to come on the show. First, though, let's get all the latest headlines with Sophie Reaper.
A very good morning to you. The time is 11:30 and these are your latest headlines. As storm Bert continues to batter much of the UK, the Met Office has issued amber and yellow weather warnings, as well as 16 flood alerts being issued. This morning, winds of up to 68 miles per hour have been recorded and 13 centimetres of snow has fallen in some parts of the country. In Ireland, the Electricity Supply Board has said that high winds have caused power outages for around 60,000 customers. That's while flights at Newcastle airports have been disrupted. Our Northern Ireland reporter Dewberry Beattie is in County Down for us this morning and has been urging people to take care.
Late last night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, we had snow. Now we've been battered by winds and really, really ice-cold rain. It's not sleet. The rain is just so freezing cold. And what's happened is the roads are now flooded, trees are down, and underneath that line, water is ice. So anybody that is out and about this morning, please, please be very, very careful.
The King attended the annual Royal Variety performance last night, although he was forced to go alone after the Queen had to miss it due to her ill health. King Charles accepted flowers on the Queen's behalf, as following a recent chest infection, Camilla had to pull out last minute. A royal source has said that the Queen was naturally disappointed to have to miss out on the event. And in other royal news, the Princess of Wales has invited the child survivors of the Southport attack to her annual Christmas concert. It comes after the Princess made a surprise visit with her husband William to meet the bereaved families of the victims in Southport last month. The Princess has set her sights on being able to stage the Together at Christmas service this year, despite the health challenges she's faced in what the Prince of Wales has described as a brutal year. And finally, the first grey seal pup of the season has been born at a former weapons testing site along the Suffolk coastline. The birth marks the 4th year in a row of seals breeding there. It began following reduced visitor access during the pandemic. The National Trust has said that more than 130 seal pups were born there last year, with the breeding site now being described as a brilliant wildlife success story. Those are your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophie Reaper. More from me in the next half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather. There is a lot going on this weekend. Storm Bert bringing heavy snow, outbreaks of rain, strong winds as well. There will be disruption through the rest of Saturday and Sunday as well. We can see it nicely on the pressure pattern. Storm Bert sat to the northwest of the UK. Isobars tightly packed together, indicating strong winds as well. And overnight, we've seen heavy rain push north and eastwards, bumping into cold air. Temperatures down to -12 last night in across parts of Scotland, so we've seen heavy snow. However, this is turning back to rain through the rest of the day for much of the country. An amber warning out across Scotland till the mid-afternoon period for snow and ice. Windy for everyone, gusts 60, 70 miles an hour around the coast, but turning incredibly mild, 16, 17 Celsius across the south. Further heavy rain pushing northwards as we go through the evening time. But let's look at that in more detail. We can see the snow starting to ease across Scotland, still temperatures barely above freezing. Outbreaks of rain around the coast, cloudy with further outbreaks of rain Northern Ireland and Northern England as well. Snow melting here leading to some localised flooding. Localised flooding across parts of England and Wales, particularly in the west, with some heavy outbreaks of rain and strong winds too. And very little changes as we move through the evening and overnight. Further outbreaks of heavy rain pushing north and eastwards, particularly across parts of England and Wales. It stays windy as well, again around the west and along the south coast as well. Gusts of 50, 60 miles an hour or so. An incredibly mild night, temperatures 15 Celsius in one or two spots. Generally most places in double figures to start Sunday, but it won't feel that mild out there. Strong winds, outbreaks of rain across England and Wales. Something a little brighter, Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland, blustery showers here. The wind's picking up again as the centre of the low pushes a little closer through the day. Further rain just continues across England and Wales. Met Office warnings remain in force for wind and rain through the day. See you soon.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets and My Take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. It's Ellie Costello alongside Sam Brantes, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Good to have your company this morning. I think this is the top of the show, Ellie, so we might have to skim through,
yes.
But never mind. We've been covering all the top stories and getting loads of views on the Seal Pup. Top names coming in. Cyril, Cecil, Sam, the works.
What are the ones that Sophie Reaper came up with? Because they were the best ones, weren't they?
Sylvie? Sylvie if it was a girl.
And what was the boy? Oh, and the boy one was Poseidon.
Poseidon for the sea.
And I do think Sophie Reaper might have just nailed it.
I think
with both of those options.
Poseidon I'd get confused with. I'd probably struggle to pronounce it.
No.
Sylvie, though, I'm happy with.
That's a good one, I think. Yeah, well, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, to this really upsetting story. A 19-year-old Australian tourist has become the 6th person to die from suspected alcohol poisoning in the tourist town of Vang Vieng in Laos.
Holly Bowles died after falling ill at the Nana backpacker hostel there, which previously had said it had given free shots, alcoholic shots, that is, to around 100 guests on the 12th of November.
Well, her friend, Bianca Jones, as well as a British lawyer, Simone White, who was just 28 years old, have also been confirmed dead from similar circumstances.
Well, joining us now to discuss all of this situation over in Laos, Chief Executive for Association of Independent Multiple Pharmacies, Dr. Leila Hanbeck. Leila, good morning to you. A tragic situation. What more do we know at this stage about just what has taken place over there?
Well, it's clear methanol poisoning, and unfortunately, some of these drinks are laced with methanol in places in Southeast Asia. And it's very difficult to distinguish between methanol and ethanol because they're very, very similar. But the body breaks down methanol to formaldehyde and then formic acid, which is very toxic. And these symptoms can then pop up after 12 hours, and it can be really, really severe. And in some cases, obviously, in most cases, the patient is hospitalized, and blindness can occur, and many other damages to the body. And unfortunately, we've seen, these teenagers unfortunately passing away.
Is this something that we would potentially hear more about if there were fatalities, but it is just happening to a lesser degree? People are hospitalized, but they survive. Is it widespread?
There has to be better education, particularly amongst the young people, that in some parts of the world, these things can happen. So when they go abroad, they need to be careful in terms of like when they go and to places, that these places are reputable and are using reputable alcohol that is not laced with anything else. So education is an important factor in this, but also remembering that whilst we have ethanol and methanol, they're very, very similar, and you won't know if your drink is laced with that. So it all comes back to raising alarms and awareness.
Yeah, because as you say, it's almost impossible to detect, because people are aware of ethanol, we're all familiar with that. It's the type of thing that you see in gin and in vodka. But methanol, even in small amounts, can be poisonous.
Well, absolutely. Very small amounts can be causing severe damages and even death, as we've seen. But it comes back to, again, as I said, making sure that when abroad, remembering that there could be these risks and making sure that where you go and drink, you know exactly that this place is not somewhere where there could be these risks, and just cautious.
How do you protect yourself other than just not drinking, not going to those places? It's a very difficult, it seems so, unfortunately, easy to happen by the sounds of it.
Yes, it all comes back to, these drinks, with the way they do that, they just want to make it more potent by adding more alcohol to it, and in a cheap way. And unfortunately, there's no way to distinguish because they look and smell similar. The only way that you would know is when you've actually been poisoned. So education and awareness about this, that this could actually happen, is very important, particularly in young people.
Yeah, Dr. Hanbeck, we were hearing, as well as the tragic news about these 6 deaths now as a result of this poisoning. Also, a number of people in hospital, which suggests that it can be treated. How would it be treated?
Well, it depends. It has to be caught as soon as possible. So the sooner you get the treatment, the better chances. But sometimes it also can have lasting effect. For example, it can cause blindness permanently. So it also depends on the amount consumed. So seeking medical help immediately has to be the key factor. As I said, the amount that has been consumed and the timing of seeking that treatment play a very, very important role.
Dr. Layla Hambeck, thank you very much for your time and your analysis on that very, very distressing story. And you can't even imagine what those families are going through.
To receive that phone call. You know, you sent your daughters off, trip of a lifetime, first time they'd ever been overseas, I think, as well, for a few of them, and then that takes place.
Yeah, for those young Australian girls we were saying this morning, 19 years old, they'd saved up money from their studies and had gone on holiday to Laos and never returned home. And Simone White, our 28-year-old British woman, working as a lawyer from Greater London. I mean, her parents described her as loving and said they were absolutely devastated. You can't even imagine what they're going through in the run-up to Christmas as well. Again, as you were saying, trip of a lifetime for a woman that has clearly worked so hard and is so accomplished.
Terrible, terrible news.
Just absolutely devastating.
Well, still to come, we will be joined here in the studio by a dog whisperer. Don't go anywhere.
Hello there, I'm Amon Host. Thank you for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
This is about pulchronomics, which is the often hidden, often controversial economics of beauty. And there's this guy, he's called, here it says Anil Hamamesh, but I think they've missed out the D, so I'm guessing he's Daniel rather than Anil, which he might be, though. He might be, or he might be anal for an Anil Hamamesh, maybe. That's his unfortunate name. But basically, he's looked into how ugliness affects people, and it turns out he's discovered that ugly people are less attractive. And that affects them for the rest of their life. Now, where this does get interesting, and it is worrying because, of course, it's going to lead to the ugly rights movement, ugly pride march down some dirty back street. And but I remember hearing about this at the time. People born in the UK between March 3rd and March 9th, 1958 were part of this massive survey that was done, which was finding about what would happen to them later in life, and it went through a number of different factors. But I didn't know this. The teachers were also asked to rate their pupils on attractiveness.
Yeah, it's a bit pedo-y.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know whether that would wash now, but it was bone structure and where they're symmetrical, that kind of thing.
You should probably really have a committee of at least half a dozen teachers. Take a sort of standardised view across the... You might get a different point of view from the biology teacher, from the Latin master.
You suggest this to a school, and then we can see if we get it going.
It's interesting, though. I don't know whether you're aware of this, but generally speaking, it is understood within sort of psychological, psychometrics and so on, that IQ is the thing that most closely maps your outcomes, generally speaking. But the idea of beauty is the one that isn't discussed. And there is genuinely a theory that this is actually the great determinant of your life chances.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Isabel Webster. Thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, welcome back. I was just thinking, where am I?
Oh, wow.
It's because I'm so relaxed, having such a lovely morning.
Good, good.
And speaking of relaxing, have you ever wondered what your dog is thinking?
And if your dog is relaxed? Well, one woman might just be able to tell you.
Dilly Williamson is a dog therapist to the stars. Her speciality is correcting any aggressive behaviour, and she's been working with dogs all her life. I'm pleased to say that she's joining us now, not only herself, but with her wonderful pet dog.
Yes, this is Cindy. I wonder if we can
mine.
get a shot there of Cindy.
She's not mine. She belongs to a client.
Beautiful dog.
Speaking of relaxed.
Yes, exactly, speaking of relaxed. She's very at home in the studio, isn't she? What breed is Cindy?
Cindy is a wire-haired Dachshund, otherwise known as a Teckle. And she's a purebred and the daughter of a champion.
Oh,
you can see that, can't you?
You can tell. She's an absolute beauty. If you're listening on the radio, we have got the cutest little dog here that is sitting on Dilly's lap and being very well behaved. She's only 2 years old, isn't she?
She's only 2 years old, but at the moment she's in a phantom pregnancy.
What's that?
She thinks she's pregnant.
Oh,
her body's gone into pregnancy mode, which is quite a serious thing, actually, because we can't neuter her. And she goes through all the symptoms of being pregnant, which could be a little bit of possession, obsession, aggression, nesting, off her food. Just a completely different dog, really.
So her mood really changes in that?
Everything changes, just like she would if she was pregnant.
Is that common?
It is common, actually. I think it's about 80% of females suffer from phantom pregnancies if they're not neutered. And it's a bit of a cycle that you can't get out of because you can't neuter them when they're in phantom. And if they go into phantom again, you can't. So this is her second phantom now.
Oh. Wow. So you were saying just then this isn't actually your dog, Cindy.
No, this is a client's dog.
So the clients, how would it work? So clients, you work for celebrities, you work for high net worth individuals who would give you their dog and you would help them to behave better. Is that how it works?
Sometimes, or I just go into the clients' houses or wherever they are, whichever country, travel with them and go through the whole environment thing, which is really important because sometimes to come to me for training is not really real life. It's real life in their own home. So, yes, that's exactly what we do.
So you've got to partner with them as an owner and the animal?
Yes. Well, there's no point in me just training her because I've got to then transfer it to the owner.
Oh, I see.
So the owner has to understand exactly, you know, how the dog's being trained and how to communicate to the dog when she has been trained.
Dilly, when did you realise you had a gift with communicating with them?
Well, I started when I was about 11 with my dog, but I didn't realise that no one else could really do it until I was about 20-something.
Really?
Yeah.
What could you tell that you were able to do that others...
I could just communicate to my dog without really talking. You can just think.
Really?
Come here, and she would come, or sit, and she would sit, or...
Oh, so you're saying there was a psychic connection?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, dogs are very much like that. It's an energy field of vibration that you can tap into. And I think most people can do it. They don't know how to do it. They'll think, oh, how did you know I wanted to do that? How did you know? Because you could semi in tune with the dog.
So it's something that could be learned. It's not just a gift as such.
You know, my daughter's got a really good analogy for that. She will say, well, everyone can sing, but everyone can't be Whitney Houston. So everyone's got different levels of how to connect with their animal.
That can then be nurtured, I suppose, as well, and trained to a degree.
Yeah.
And this gift of yours, it has been passed on to your daughter, Crystal, I believe. So tell me a bit about Crystal.
Crystal is a professional psychic medium tarot card reader.
Yeah.
And for humans and dogs.
So she can connect psychically with dogs as well?
Past and present.
Really?
Yeah, fascinating. It even fascinates me. I don't know how she does it, but she does it. It's quite amazing. So if I get really stuck on a job and I don't really know why that dog's not going to go up that step, it doesn't matter what you do, and it's a highly trained dog, I'll call in Crystal and she'll go into the dog psyche and say, oh, well, there's a child sitting on the step that was in that house before that died. Yeah, it could be a multitude of different things.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a bit spooky, isn't it? But it's real. It's a real thing, yeah.
Are there certain behaviours and traits that you see more in dogs that need, I don't want to say the word fixing, but helping, supporting, resolving than others?
At the moment, it's recall. Recall is a really bad one, and anxieties. Anxieties they seem to be getting worse and worse and worse.
Do you think lockdown had an impact on dogs? I mean, I've got lots of friends who got lockdown puppies, and they are really suffering now with dogs that are highly reactive and hate being left alone. Is that something that you're seeing?
I think that did have an effect, but I think it also highlighted the owner. Maybe that particular owner has certain issues that weren't highlighted before it was locked in a room with a dog. Maybe. And maybe the dogs were never left alone long enough. There's lots of variance there. I don't think it's just one thing. Because actually, I would always say spend as much time with your dog as possible before you socialise them with other dogs, because your dog needs to know you before it knows anybody else. So very often people get transfixed on socialising their dogs. and their dogs find other dogs much more playful than the owners, so hence you have a problem with the recall. So if you get to know your dog first and spend that time with your dog, invest that time with your dog, it will pay dividends later.
Choosing a dog, is it a bit like choosing a partner in life? You know, opposites attract, or is it the same attract?
Actually,
do you have to be compatible with your dog?
Exactly. I would like to think that people would choose their dogs for the purpose that they want the dog. So some people choose their dogs because they match the curtains. You know, it's really that fickle.
Yeah.
And some people think really deeply about it. So, well, no, I want to get a rescue dog. And everybody's different. There isn't a commonality there at all.
What would your advice be to people who are watching and listening and they really do want a dog? Should they be looking at rescues? Should they be looking at breeds, like you say, that are compatible perhaps with their lifestyle? Where would you start?
I think look at breeds that are compatible with your lifestyle, because that will determine size and characteristics. And then if you can find those breeds and rescues, that would be amazing. But I'd like to say that people are always worried about getting a rescue dog, especially if they've got young children. And I think that's unfortunate for the rescue dogs, because it doesn't mean, because they're in rescue, that they're aggressive or, you know, they've got terrible behaviours. It could be circumstantial. So always check out the rescues, but decide on the breed and the size first, and how much time you've got.
Are there any cases where you've seen such a dramatic change that's just been remarkable to witness?
In what?
In the dog's behaviour that you've been working with?
Well, obviously, when I work with them, there'll be a bit of change.
Very good sell.
Where's the furthest you've been called out to? We are running out of time, but I'm just being nosy now. Where's the furthest place in the world that you've been flown out?
Thailand.
Really?
Wow. Thailand, and we have a rescue centre there now, Jai Dog Rescue, and Battersea Dogs Home was so impressed with us that they partnered with us, and we're now their template for the rest of the world, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are absolutely
Remarkable.
incredible, Dilly. You have a gift. And Cindy is, I think, the cutest dog I've ever seen in my life.
The best
Look how
behaved
relaxed she is.
TV
And the
dog
best
we've
behaved.
ever had.
And that just says it all. Dilly Williamson, lovely to meet you. And the lovely Cindy as well. Sam, thank you for joining me today. Lovely to be with us. And thank you for watching us on Saturday Morning Live.
Have a wonderful weekend.
It's Darren Grimes.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather. There is a lot going on this weekend. Storm Bert bringing heavy snow, outbreaks of rain, strong winds as well. There will be disruption through the rest of Saturday and Sunday as well. We can see it nicely on the pressure pattern. Storm Bert sat to the northwest of the UK. Isobars tightly packed together, indicating strong winds as well. And overnight, we've seen heavy rain push north and eastwards, bumping into cold air. Temperatures down to -12 last night in across parts of Scotland. So we've seen heavy snow. However, this is turning back to rain through the rest of the day for much of the country. An amber warning out across Scotland till the mid-afternoon period for snow and ice. Windy for everyone, gusts 60-70 miles an hour around the coast, but turning incredibly mild, 16-17 Celsius across the south. Further heavy rain pushing northwards as we go through the evening time. But let's look at that in more detail. We can see the snow starting to ease across Scotland. Still temperatures barely above freezing. Outbreaks of rain around the coast. Cloudy with further outbreaks of rain Northern Ireland and Northern England as well. Snow melting here leading to some localised flooding. Localised flooding across parts of England and Wales, particularly in the west, with some heavy outbreaks of rain and strong winds too. And very little changes as we move through the evening and overnight. Further